We welcome you back to ESPN and PBA's continuing live coverage of the Denny's Dick Weber Open, and Chris Barnes goes to the seat after a tough round here. Here's a look at the fifth frame, and Randy, he leaves the Greek church. 4, 6, 7, 9, 10.
Yeah, it looked like that ball really checked up on him, and of course, with as much good fortune as Chris has had on television, he pays the ultimate price leaving the Greek church. And then comes back on the left lane and leaves the 2-4, narrowly avoiding another open frame. He kicked the 10 out late.
So an open frame and a spare for Barnes while we were gone. Fagan rolled a 9 spare and then a strike. Here he is in the 6th on the right lane where no one has struck yet. And still nobody has dropped all 10 on the right lane.
Chris Barnes was the higher seed, so he had the choice of which lane he wanted to start and finish on. Chris chose to have Michael Fagan start the match, which puts Michael Fagan on the right lane in the 10th frame and Chris on the left lane. And obviously there's a reason why. Not one strike yet on this right lane.
Takes care of the spare to Fagan, and we take a H&R Block second look at the unorthodox form of Mr. Fagan.
Well, first thing, he's got a Sarge Easter grip. His middle finger's fingertip, his ring finger's conventional. And just a phenomenal form and style. A lot of fun to watch. But check this out. How about the left heel coming off of the ground right at impact? Creates a lot of power, a lot of speed. He's got a very loose arm swing and a very fast snapping wrist action at the bottom of the swing.
Come on, 10.
You know, we talked about all the different styles on television today with Michael Fagan, a big high-power guy. Chris Barnes, a lot of power, very end-over-end roll. Norm Duke with that straight shot. Michael Fagan said, you know, if I can survive a couple of games, he thinks that he can break the oil pattern down to where he can get in and freewheel it and have the inside part of the lane all to himself.
He has a clean game so far. 3 strikes. 7 spares. Neither competitor has been able to string a pair of strikes together yet. We knew this oil pattern was going to be challenging and in some low scoring, but the fact that we have yet to see back-to-back strikes in this match, a bit surprising. No one has struck on the right lane, which is where Chris Barnes is right now.
That lane is just a lot of fun.
That would be sarcasm, folks.
And you know, that could have, excuse me, that could have very well have happened in the 5th frame because it was the same kind of hit. And, you know, I was very interested to see what kind of move Chris would make on that lane. He's got instant hook and right now has lost the pocket completely on the right lane.
I told us yesterday, here at Fountain Valley, you'd never really get to feel comfortable here, and some of that has to do with the oil pattern that you have to deal with here.
But at 39 feet in length, the Dick Weber pattern is designed to maximize creativity and performance from the best bowlers in the world, and we're seeing that now. This week, players played all over the place. They played out, they played in, and everything in between. And it was the players that anticipated moves and made the big adjustments. They were the ones that were able to stay on top of the transition.
Only time this oil pattern will be used this season. Thankfully for many years, Barnes almost went Brooklyn there.
Terrible.
We only had 2 300 games this week.
One of them by Pete Weber, our 2 seed.
Yeah, and again, it was Mike Devaney was the other. But I think traditionally over the years, this center has played difficult going from pair to pair. Remember, the players don't just sit on one lane and bowl, you know, all the games. They move around all over the building. They're constantly changing pairs. And so that's what was the biggest issue this week. One side of the house would play better than the other. The middle part of the house, some pairs would hook early, some pairs wouldn't. And quite honestly, Rob, I think when you have that, the cream really rises to the top. The better players are always going to prevail.
Barnes has now gone the last 4 frames without a strike. Fagan on that right lane, still seeking a strike there. And we're not going to get it.
And here's what you have on the right lane, and this is what Chris Barnes is struggling with. And when you watch Chris Barnes go through the nose, you're like, why doesn't he give it a little bit of room to the right? And this is the reason why. Michael Fagan trusts it a bit more to the right, and the ball never gets back. So the right lane right now has caved in. The middle part of the lane hooks. The outside part of the lane is tight. For those of you at home, we call that a reverse block, one of the toughest conditions to bowl on or score on.
Fagan in good control of this match through 8 frames, but he knows he has to fight his way through a loaded field today.
I try not to. If you think about that, you're not worrying about yourself, and I need to get out there and worry about my game and what I'm going to do. And there's no defense in bowling, so I'm just going to go out there and bowl the best I can, and hopefully my score wins.
And he lists Chris Barnes as his toughest opponent, period. He's always tough, no easy matches out of him. And he always learns something from rolling against Barnes. It's been a while since we could celebrate a strike. And there in the foundation frame, Fagan gets a big one. But the 10th frame for Fagan will be spent on that dicey right lane. Barnes down 15 as he begins his effort in the 9th.
And this is the key shot for him, trying to somehow find a strike on this right lane.
There it is!
That was a huge adjustment, Rob. And just a world-class shot that he threw there, because he knows that if he strikes 9th and 10th frame, he can shoot 203, which would force Michael Fagan to get at least the first strike in the 10th and good count on the right lane.
Big man not going down without a fight. Well chronicled. The issues Chris Barnes has had on television, particularly last season, was able to finally kind of fight through it en route to winning Player of the Year honors. Some struggles this season on TV as well, including the opening of this match, but now he's fought his way back into contention to win this one. And as I say that, he leaves double wood.
Well, it wasn't that bad. He trusted it. It just looked like it was just a pinch firm, and that's why it didn't make it back.
This pattern and these lanes are going to be testing our rollers all afternoon.
Well, even with a strike here in his fill shot, Michael Fagan will just need 8 pins total in the 10th frame to move on. The best Chris Barnes can shoot now is 183. If Michael Fagan were to get 8 in 2 balls, he would shoot 184.
We were talking to the bowlers yesterday. They said anything in the 220s would be a really high score today.
That's what he wanted, Rob. A little bit softer. He got it to turn the corner.
So Barnes sits down with a 183 up now. 28-year-old Michael Fagan has only won once on television in singles competition, needs just 8 pins here in the 10th to move on to take on Ryan Schaefer. There's your 8 and more.
And more importantly, Rob, he needs to somehow get dialed in on the right lane for his upcoming match with Ryan Schaefer.
That was his first strike on the right lane, the first back-to-back jacks of this first match. And it comes in the 10th.
Tape, sorry.
So Barnes is done, and he'll focus on Las Vegas, the USBC Masters, next week from the Cashman Center, the 3rd major of this season.
Rob, while we have a
Yeah,
moment,
really.
we'd like to send our condolences out to the Benoit family. Bob and Rick. Bob, an ex-tour champion out here. Rick, a tour rep for one of the manufacturers. Their father, Dwayne, passed away earlier this week. Our thoughts and prayers are with the Benoit family.
.204, 183. A nice confidence-building victory for Michael Fagan over the guy he considers his toughest opponent on the tour, Chris Barnes. Up next, your number 3 seed, Ryan Schaefer, takes to the wood. He's the last man to bowl a 300 on national television.